Hello friends! Today I would like to dedicate a bit of attention to a topic that has been dominating our public discussion for a while now. Novax and COVID vaccination requirements. As you know, to deter the further spread of the virus and reduce hospitalizations, countries with access to vaccines have introduced mandatory vaccination requirements. I say mandatory even if it is not technically mandatory, since most of the countries I'm thinking about, Europe and the wider Western world, are generally liberal democracies. They have constitutions that do not allow governments to force anyone to do anything against their will, particularly when it comes to health. The only real situations when a person can be forced by the law to take specific medical care is when they are unconscious and/or incapable to decide for themselves, as in the case of minors or persons with mental disorders. In fact, while in Italian we have the expression trattamento sanitario obbligatorio, roughly translating to mandatory medical care, there is no such expression in English, and the concept is expressed as involuntary commitment by the legislator. More like if there is a will to stress the involuntary aspect rather than the medical reason. In this limited framework, governments introduced a system of disincentives to force people to take the medical care voluntarily. In other words, fines and limited access to services, the so-called vaccine passport requirement, are pushing people to take the medicine willingly. Novax are people that for a reason or the other do not want to get vaccinated. Of course, people who cannot for proven risks are not Novax. The question is then, are Novax liberals or socialists? A small premise. Vaccines are a measure that aims to protect an individual from an illness and to protect a community at the same time, reducing the spread of the viruses or bacteria that the vaccine fights. We all know that COVID-19 can be lethal also for younger people, but as a general rule, vaccines are especially recommended for more fragile people, namely elders and the youngest. This is why we often hear that taking the COVID-19 vaccination is a measure to protect the others. Based on this premise, the action of governments is left-oriented or socialist. The government is not protecting me, Gianmarco, but the community. The higher the vaccination rate, the less the virus spreads, so less symptoms and less deaths. If the government is acting socialist, then Novax are acting liberals. They are only thinking about themselves and their personal health. Regardless, and I stress it, regardless of the fact that their understanding is based on fear rather than uninformed rational decisions. Vaccines are safe and it is better to be protected than risking our lives, but Novax are convinced that they risk more by taking the vaccines than taking the virus. So they have a misrepresentation of the risks at play. But as political as the question is, they are behaving as classical liberals with regards to their respective communities, because they are focusing on themselves and not on the community. So it would be interesting to understand whether in a socialist-oriented society the Novax would be less. At the same time, we cannot prove it as almost all socialist countries are authoritarian. The discussion is over. See you next time.